Broadcasting at a pop-in. Now, if you're new to these pop-ins, essentially what this is, it's like a pop-up, but because we're socially distancing and working really, really hard to keep you and our staff safe, we're doing these digitally, remotely, with brands so that everybody gets the same information and everybody can make informed choices on which products work for them. And today we're talking with a brand that is near and dear to not only my heart, but the farm's heart as well, because we kind of came up together in Boulder. We're from about the same era. And if I remember correctly, I talked to Jan, our CEO, just a couple days ago, and she was excited that we were going to spend some time together today because she very distinctly remembers some of your very, very first offerings as a new entrepreneur, fresh out of CU Boulder, with this great idea to make infused sodas. And one of the things that she talked about was the fact that you were filling a space in a very, very nascent infant market that no one else was filling. And you know, it's fun to talk about, you know, pot soda, right? But it's what I think people miss sometimes in that conversation is how important a drinkable infused beverage is for people that have conditions that would make a traditional edible impossible, if not difficult to consume, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, well, thank you, by the way, for coming and doing this with me, by the way.
Of course, man. Anytime.
Erik, the founder, by the way, Keef Cola. So let's go back to 2009, 2010 when you got started, and what the kind of impetus was for Keef Cola. Was it to fill that void? Had you had some successes in some kind of garagey or bathtub concoctions before this?
So actually, we kind of fell into it in a way. We started, along with the farm out in Gumboro. We had a dispensary. It's actually still out there right now.
Oh, nice.
But we operated that starting in October 2009, and at the time there weren't a lot of edible choices on the market for patients, because obviously it was medical back then.
Right.
To your point exactly, one of the things we started learning right away is we had a lot of Crohn's patients coming in, a lot of people that couldn't digest a lot of the edibles that were being produced on the market. And that along with, we all like to drink.
Sure.
Throughout history, the two most common accepted forms of social adult interaction are drinking and smoking.
Right.
The combination of, an awesome, proven delivery vehicle plus the social kind of dynamic surrounding beverages made it a pretty easy decision for us when we started looking at, what we wanted to do there. Back to the garage, we definitely started in the garage, in our home kitchens. So,
right.
We were actually using a soda stream machine.
Oh, wow, okay.
Bubble bags and drills.
Wild.
It was wild at the beginning, but pretty quickly there, we got our feet underneath us and started to really push, and started developing some new operating procedures. And my brother, who we co-founded the business along with a bunch of other friends in late 2009, I said early 2010. Started really putting on his engineering hat.
Wow.
And,
okay.
actually built our first bottling machines. That were pretty basic, but they work. We then, by the end of year one, actually, we bought the big machine that we just stopped using in Colorado about 6 months ago. So
wow.
For about 9.5 years, we used the same machine, and then we switched over to new 2-piece cans, which is super local and retail.
Yeah.
We put that one to rest and sent it to Kansas City, actually. So.
One of the things that I really appreciate about the aluminum cans is that I'm an outdoors guy. I like going outdoors, and I subscribe, as we all should, to the pack it in, pack it out mantra, right? And packing out aluminium is a hell of a lot easier than packing out glass. So thank you for that, Erik. That's very, very. And
we helped a lot of people on beaches.
Yeah. Like, for me, growing up in the Midwest, a can of beer was always at my side. Not uncommon to go through, 20,000 calories in PBRs in a given football weekend growing up in Iowa. And then when I moved to Colorado, my social lubricant of choice quickly turned to adult use cannabis and adult use cannabis products. But I was always kind of, for a while, the kind of odd person out, right? Like I had to go outside to have a J, or I had a boring club soda with a lime in it to carry around, or a grocery store cola. Those are kind of my only choices. I wasn't able to lubricate the way I wanted to, or I wanted to medicate the way I wanted to. And when I discovered Keef and Keef products, I instantly fell in love. Great tasting, flavors that I love. I mean, I'm an old cola nut from way back in the day. When I go to a new place, I try to find those kind of artisanal sodas or artisanal pops, whatever part of the country you're from, soda versus pop. And so finding a cola that was consistent, delicious, and medicated me the way I wanted to be medicated was super, super, super fun. And then I discovered all of the good flavors, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. We talked about kind of already what the journey has been for Keef from 2009 to 2020. For outside of kind of the formulations, and I know you're always constantly upgrading flavors and adding new products, what has singularly been the biggest change for you and your team over at Keef over the last decade?
So, obviously the introduction of a ton of new products.
Yeah.
Kind of standard for any business. You're going to want to stay on top of markets. And,
right.
Changing palettes. Obviously, we've all witnessed the rise of the LaCroix.
Oh, yeah.
Waters, and we tried to, I think we were the first sparkling water in about 2017, 16 here in Colorado. I think for the whole country at the time. But, that kind of came natural just as a product guy and as a marketing guy. It was something we'd always knew we were going to have to do. Sure. I would say that the single most challenging thing that we've had to deal with over the last decade has been from a regulatory standpoint, and not so much compliance, but really dealing with just a myriad of issues and licensing and locations, everything that comes along with that. So,
people.
We moved 4 times in the first 4 years of operations.
Wow, that's. I mean, I just moved myself, and that's a personal move. That I didn't have to shut down processes, and there weren't dependencies. I mean, there were a few, but not like other people's dependencies on me making that move happen. And 4 times in the wow, that's crazy. And what people I don't think understand, because we're so laser focused on Colorado, is that when you move into new markets and you expand into the Californias and the Missouris of the world, there are lots of different regulatory challenges there. You've got different label requirements, different packaging requirements, different dosage requirements. So, you may have to tweak a formulation here or there. If I get an adult use Keef product in Boulder and I get one in California, how similar are they?
Almost identical.
Awesome. Awesome.
At this point, we use, and that's another great challenge.
Sure.
We've had to face over the years is definitely supply chain logistics. Luckily, we've got a great team behind us doing all of that and working on it every day. Actually, our head of supply chain has been pretty much with us. He took a little break in 13, but for about 10 years now, he's been a right-hand guy. And without him, we'd be a mess. He's had to beat his head against a lot of walls over the years, especially with currently producing in 6 or 7 markets with a bunch more coming online. So, as you said, probably the most challenging thing there is definitely labels. Just the change in every market, and then obviously new markets. They're starting to go through the same issues that we had in Colorado.
Sure.
Obviously, they're changing those labels. Now we're trashing labels, and re-stickering, and all that. So. Luckily that we've had him with us for a long time. He's really just critical component of our operation. And then obviously the rest of our team from marketing standpoint, sales, manufacturing, the SOP team that we built out the processes, procedures that we use to try to maintain a consistent product across markets. Have done a great job over the years. Obviously you have variances in oil.
Sure.
We can't ship it across state lines.
Sure.
That being said, we've done a very good job on the sourcing side. We've been able to source similar cannabis extracts in every market to keep that consistency there. From a flavoring standpoint, they taste almost identical, the same flavoring going in everywhere. and we use the same cane sugar, agave, or monk fruit, depending on the product. So that's all pretty standardized, but it definitely, you have to give a huge shout out to our manufacturing teams in every market. Their dedication, because it's not an easy product to make for sure.
Sure, and people don't realize that. People don't think that you take some hash and you add it to soda and boom, there you go. It's making drinks. And I'm more of a layperson when it comes to we call them, is a little inside baseball for y'all, MIPS, right? Marijuana infused products is what we call them. I'm kind of a layperson there, but I do know that it's significantly harder to make a soda or a beverage than it is a cookie, right? Why is that?
So it starts with the fact that, like you said, it is an oil. So putting oil in water is always been a challenge for any product manufacturer, whatever it might be. And when we first got started, referencing the bubble bags, we didn't understand the emulsifications. We didn't know how to really deal with the oil. At the time, there really wasn't even a lot of oil on the market. This was, early 2010. Most of the oils that were out were being done pretty rudimentary, so there was a lot of there wasn't the testing that we have today. So there's a lot of residual solvent left in it. So we didn't really feel comfortable using a lot of the initial oils that were on the market to put into a beverage. So we actually pioneered a method of utilizing, an old school Dutch hashing method, cold water hash extractions in different bags and different microns. And we took the finest micron level hash out of that process, figured out a way under pressure with water to decarboxylate it without actually blowing up the trichome itself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you were to refilter the hash out of the water that was in the original Keef, you would actually see a full gram trichome still sitting there.
Oh, wow!
Activated and edible at the time. So that was our toughest challenge originally, was because obviously every trichome is surrounded by a thin layer that holds all the oil in it. So usually when you heat that, it bursts and it turns into oil, and that's how you end up with all of it together.
So with those early Keef Colas, would one have to kind of gently shake them up to redistribute that bubble hash all the way through?
We created a little swing it and shake it.
Yeah, because the carbonation is part of the experience, right? Like you want to have that you want to preserve the carbonation, but you need to equitably spread that hash all the way through that drink. Wow, great. Okay, and I would imagine too that affects the taste in a great way, right? Like having that.
Well, the original ones had a little bit of grit to them.
Sure.
They weren't too bad. Over time, however, we started to realize, because we've always held back batch samples, that the trichomes themselves would actually start to absorb and get larger.
Like a big mosquito, right?
And basically just start absorbing everything else in there, from the water to who knows what was going on.
Right.
And sugar, all of that. So after about 2-3 years, you have kind of a sludge at the bottom.
Sure, that just sits there.
It still works.
Sure, I bet you could,
some buddies that over the years have definitely been over.
Why don't you take a bite of my cola sludge, right? Yeah.
Pop open a 4-year-old drink.
That'll give, I don't know if we can name brands or whatever, but that'll give a new definition to Pop Rocks, right? Yeah, exactly. Totally different kind. One of the great things that, and I was at the store recently, and I was kind of perusing the offerings that we have now, and you kind of mentioned, I've been harping on the classic Keef soda line, right? And we'll talk about that in a second. But you mentioned the sparkling water. There's a Life water now too. And for those of you out there, if you're unfamiliar with Keef, if you close your eyes and envision I just moved to St. Louis, so bodegas are a thing for me again, right? So if you close your eyes and you kind of picture the beverage cooler at your favorite bodega or convenience store, and there are particular options there, right? Like there's the sparkling waters, and there's the booches, and there's the sodas and the colas and the juices and whatnot. And now Keef has kind of had an answer for all of those things. And my question is, how long does it take? What's the R&D like? How long does it take for one of these beverages to go from idea phase to where I can buy it, at my favorite dispo, like the farm?
So we typically on new product rollouts, so we don't totally overwhelm our team. We like to budget for 6 months.
Got it.
I've been known to push a little.
Sure. People are thirsty. They need to drink.
people got to wet their palates.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would say typically it's about a 6-month process
Okay.
from R&D until it gets on the shelf and it's actually out available to the public, because you also have obviously the entire sales cycle, obviously the sell-through on that,
Sure.
getting it out into the market itself, is developing the products just step one, getting it out into the market, and especially in the Colorado market, which is extremely crowded. We're lucky, obviously, to be in a position.
Being an OG helps, man.
Yeah, being an OG and having done it for over a decade now. Pretty much all of the dispensaries. It makes it a little easier, but it's still a process.
Sure.
We still have awesome retail partners that, thank God, don't let every single product on the market that's there on the shelves.
Right.
That'd probably do more harm than good.
Right. Well, and there's just, I was thinking to myself about brand loyalty while we were kind of having a conversation a second ago, and for me as a consumer, for me it's about finding something that is in more than one spot, right? Like I want to, if I'm in Palisade, or if I'm in, down at the dunes, or I'm in Boulder, finding something that's available, that's important to me, because consistency and flavor are the two other factors that really drive my purchases. And I think, the more and more people I talk to, I find that to be a similar story through their cannabis experience. And so I thank you for creating such a delicious product that I know is gonna work for me, and I know how it's gonna work for me every time. And I think, it doesn't surprise me that it takes 6 months for a new product to be born, because there's so much that goes in, there's so much that goes into A, figuring all that out, but B, maintaining that consistency has got to be super important, right?
Yeah, it is. Especially for our customers, you've referenced a bunch. We're extremely blessed to have such a loyal following of customers, here in Colorado and now in all the other states as well that we're in. That's definitely probably the driving factor behind the time it takes to get a product to market. Is we don't want to release something that we don't feel is up to the standard that we've set over the last decade, and we want to make sure that it is delivering a consistent, both from flavor and actual efficacy to consumer, knowing that a lot of our consumers are still medical patients as well. So that's another key component to what we're trying to do. And on our up and coming kind of product development line, really kind of looking at, let's look at the products we have now, and let's see if we can get those products, make those products even better than they are, even before we start launching new products.
Yes.
And so we've got some exciting new changes coming to the Keef Lifeline that I think everybody's really dig.
Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. So we're looking right now at it's more strain specificity on it.
Oh wow, cool.
Working with terpene suppliers, so that we can really start, because right now they're more phenome specific.
Sure.
We will actually be diving right into the strain specificity and terpene profiles in the beverage to really start giving people the effect that they're looking for and making it more of a functional beverage. We launched it originally as a kind of a vitamin water type product.
Right.
Much lower calorie than our traditional sodas. So it's 100 milligrams at 50 calories per bottle. So we're talking 5 calories per 10 milligram serving.
And it's a great taste, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, brother. On the rec side, and on medical, we've got a 200 that just came out, so it's even less.
Awesome.
We have 2.5 calories per 10 milligrams on that one. So it's definitely, we're really excited about it. We're also looking at adding potentially some nutraceuticals to it. Vitamins to also start helping people achieve the desired effect that they're going for. Whether it's sleeping, more awake, pure relaxation, connectivity, anything like that. So we're really excited about it.
I would be. Everything. My brain's just going like, when can I get this? When can I get this? I'm excited to get that.
It's coming, man. It's
good.
We've got some tea products that we've been working on for a long time.
Oh, cool.
I think will be coming out, shortly. But we're really diving into that 100 milligram high dose market also. In addition, obviously, our low dose, and that's another thing that we've tried to always, strive for is providing a product for every consumer.
Right.
And giving anybody something to have, rather than just focusing on one specific niche of the market. just the understanding that everybody is different. Everybody, consumes cannabis differently, and nobody should be left out of the party, like you were referencing earlier.
Yeah,
I want to see everybody in on this, and I've personally, also over the years slowly decreased my drinking, and being able to now have the Keef Sparkling and have 2-3 of those a night.
Yeah.
Good. Maybe one beer also.
Right.
I'm good the next morning. And that's a feeling that I've always wanted to be able to share with other people too. And I think we're finally there with a lot of these adult beverages that we have. So I'm really excited about this launch of social consumption in Colorado.
Oh, buddy, you and me both too, man. It's been a long time coming. As a bud tender, looking someone in the face who's super excited, like, I just got to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Now where can I enjoy this? And you're like, well,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's illegal. Yeah, not on Pearl Street, not on the creek. And that's a great segue, Eric. And as I listen to you speak, and this is, I don't know if it's something in the water in Boulder, what they're putting up in the reservoir up in Ned, but every time I talk to an OG cannabis pioneer from Boulder, whether it's you or Jan or any of the half dozen or dozen people that got started here, they're still crushing it. I'm always taken aback in a good way at how dedicated you are to your original kind of mindset, where we were all medical, right? And so that thread of wellness and that thread of kind of that altruistic drive that these companies and these people that got their start in Boulder have. It's just so endearing, and it's so warming, and it's so encouraging to see in a business where altruism kind of sometimes can take a sidestep to business and corporate. You know what I mean? Like, as you look kind of around the landscape and what cannabis is kind of turning into, it's really, really cool to see folks like you, that have these great successes, but still being so dedicated to what got you here in the first place.
I really appreciate that, Tony. It definitely means a lot. Over the years, we've been through the ringer in
Sure.
other places, and a lot of those OGs that you're mentioning have been by our side the entire time as well. And we've had a lot of fights for patients over the years and for access.
Yep.
It's really become probably the biggest component of my current role with the company, aside from CEO.
Sure.
Is actually maintaining a lot of those relationships and really trying to keep that original vision of access, wellness, all of it, all the way to the social equity side now. Where
Yes.
In California, our partners there just launched a new product called Firmer and the Felon. Proceeds from that directly go to the Last Prisoner Project.
Cool.
We're hoping to bring that branded flower out to Colorado here
Cool.
soon. That line that's directly impacting people's lives that have been so severely destroyed by the war on drugs for the last 50 years. And for everything that we've achieved from a business standpoint until those prisoners are let out, it's all inconsequential.
Yep.
It really doesn't matter because we haven't completed our original missions yet. Obviously the access from a medical standpoint is starting to become more widespread, and it's a hell of a lot better than it was when we had 6 states back in 2010.
Yeah.
But that's still not all the way there yet either. So I spend a lot of my time, I sit on 2 boards currently, the American Trade Association of Cannabis and Hemp, which is based out of Pennsylvania. We helped them with MPP to open up Pennsylvania about 4 years ago.
Cool.
And we've been fighting in Florida to open additional access there. New Jersey, New York, pretty much all over the East Coast, South Carolina, Kentucky, wherever we can throw our hat in and step in the ring. We've been there. And then most recently, obviously we supported NCIA for years. And then I sit on the board of the Cannabis Trade Federation as well. I was founding member of both those organizations. To be once again our mission there. We're currently supporting the MORE Act, which is going through Congress. We're hoping to get a vote here in the next couple of weeks, and that will have tremendous impact both on the business side and the social equity side, as we've discussed, and really opening up a lot of those getting those patients out of prison, those people out of prison, and everybody that's been caught up in this war. While also expanding access to the plant for medical and adult use. So really excited about all that work, and you know, it's just a blessing that I get to be out there and get to go.
Eric, I wake up every morning and think to myself, I help facilitate access to cannabis to adults. That's what I do. That's my drive, and it feels really, really good. And I can see, like, on your face, as you were talking about all of these cool things that you're working toward, and helping people. I mean, that's what it's about, right? It's helping people. Like if we take all of that and boil it down, it's helping people. The smile on your face it tells me that you are absolutely a good dude, and I want people to follow along with your story. So where do people follow along? I'm at keefbrands.com is an easy one.
keefbrands.com, at Keef Brands on Instagram, the Keef Brands Facebook page. And then I believe we're getting a LinkedIn fully up and running right now too, but obviously...
Man, I was, not for nothing, I'm going to use this platform. I was on LinkedIn updating my stuff over the weekend. You can choose as an industry, right? Like, what industry do you work in? You can choose wine and spirits, you can choose tobacco, but you can't choose cannabis as an industry yet.
It's unbelievable, man. We're right there.
Almost! Well, not to put another thing on your plate, but when you're sitting on those boards, maybe we can get LinkedIn to help us out a little bit, too.
No doubt, man. Well, also Zoltrain.
And Zoltrain.
There,
We're doing our damnedest. I just got a preview of your class the other day. It's looking fantastic. Fantastic.
Our team's been working real hard on that, so I really appreciate that, and I know they do, too.
Oh, my God. It's fun when you get to help a product that you believe in. Keef products are products that I believe in, and I will continue to believe in because they're delicious, they're consistent, and they're available. Eric, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony. Peace, brother.